So living with MS is raggedy. If I hadn't communicated that, I was doing. I'm not claiming that I'm not doing well. But I was symptom free for several months, and then over the weekend, I started to have like numbness in my fingertips on my right hand. Um, that's weird. Um, so I started having numbness in my fingertips on my right hand. Not all of them, just like my middle finger and my pinky. But for my pinky, it's now going kind of eh, down the side of my hand, which is what it was before. Um, and now I feel like I'm having like warmth, like not a burning sensation, but like a warmth in my feet, which is also something that I had before the first flare up. So I'm gonna call my neurologist in the morning to see if she can get me in. Um, and they'll probably have to take some blood and run some tests, and that's gonna cost me some more money. Ugh, so expensive. But likely will give me some steroids to kind of stave off the symptoms or stave off a full flare up. I'm hoping. I'm hoping I don't have to go back into the hospital because that would suck. And that would mean that I would also need to revisit going on full FMLA, which I do not want to do and quite frankly cannot afford. I cannot afford to live on two-thirds of my income. I can't. I literally can't. And I would love for you to keep all of your living below your means conversations to yourself because we live in late stage capitalism. So everybody except multimillionaires and billionaires are likely living above their means because it is expensive to live in this godforsaken country. What's today's date? Today's April 6th. April 6th, which is exactly 6 months from the day that I went into the hospital for my very first flare up. Even though I had been having that flare up for probably 2 weeks and I didn't realize it. I didn't realize it was a flare up. I knew something was wrong. I didn't realize it was a flare up. So, yeah, it probably is stress. It probably also is diet. So, like, I got to get really, 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 really serious about this anti inflammatory diet. So, working on that. And it's like harder to do this time around than it was when I didn't have to do it. It's something about having to do it that just makes it really unattractive. But no dairy, no fried food. I think those are probably the biggest culprits for whatever symptoms that I may be having, but I also think it's stress because my department is very shaky right now and I don't know how uh, secure my employment is. Not for performance reasons, but just because we are undergoing changes and not everybody values the presence of a decentralized human resources person. And yes, I have been looking. It is a shitty market. Um, yeah, lots of things. I should probably also reach out to my therapist. Also, I just made that face and I just look like one of my relatives. And that's not fun. But yeah, pray for the chronic illness baddies. Pray for the chronic illness baddies. Good afternoon. In today's episode of Casanora's Chronic Illness Car Confessions, I am tired of having to be my own customer service agent. I am tired of not ever just being able to be a patient and also having to be my own patient advocate and also having to be customer service for medical facilities. I've had a week. There's been a lot of work stress. And fun facts, multiple sclerosis is exacerbated by stress. And so I started to have some numbness in my fingertips, which was reminiscent of the numbness that I had in my fingertips during my initial flare up. So I was like, let me call my neuro lady. Sent a message into the portal like, hey, I'm having these symptoms. I don't know if my doctor wants to, move up my neurology check-in appointment. I don't know if she wants to prescribe an not an over the counter, an oral route steroid. I'm not really sure, but I'm concerned. I get a message back from the nurse that is like, have you had any of these experiences? I think it was like a UTI or COVID or stress. But I'm like, sure, stress. But I also am a Black woman living in Trump's America. So yeah, stress is ever present. And she's like, because it could be pseudo exacerbations. Pause. If you had just asked me the questions about, like, have you experienced these things that could be contributing factors? I'd have been like, no, cool, 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 cool. But to ask me a question, not wait for a response, and then tell me that it might all be made up in my head, essentially, pissed me off. And I said, there's nothing pseudo about what I'm experiencing. And I would like follow up from my doctor about what to do so that I don't go back into the hospital. Because I cannot afford another 4-day, 3-night stay at the VUMC resort. I cannot. Doctor gets back to me. She was like, we were going to do MRIs and blood work anyway. Let's just move those up. We're not going to move up your appointment, but we'll move up your blood work. So I had to get more MRIs. Yay! I've got those coming April 20th. Those are not going to be cheap. Those are going to be really expensive. Exciting about that. Had to have a urinalysis, had that done. Also had to get 2 different types of blood work. It was some metabolic and some sort of CBC, something or another. I get to the lab that is supposed to be the full service lab, meaning they have everything. And before I sit down, ask the phlebotomist, hey, you're going to need the vein Doppler to find my veins because that is the only way they can find my veins now. She was like, I don't think we have one. I don't even know what that is. I said, oh, okay, well, I'll reach out to my doctor to send in new orders because I am not going to try to give blood today without a vein Doppler. She was like, are you sure you're usually pretty good about finding veins? I said the last 4 or 5 times that someone has said that to me, I have been stuck 4 or 5 times and I'm not doing that today. So thank you so much for doing the urinalysis. I will get blood work elsewhere. She's like, I understand. So that was fine. I call the main service line and say, hey, can you tell me which lab has a vein Doppler, a vein finder? Because I need to get this blood work done and I am unwilling to get blood work done without the vein Doppler. And I hear some random woman in the back, because the guy was like, oh, we don't have one, but 100 Oaks should. I was like, well, I'm standing here right now and they just told me they don't have it. He was like, oh, well, they're supposed to. Okay, somebody got to figure that out, but I'm telling you right now, they don't have it. Then I hear someone in the background, because he goes and asks, he's like, hey, do you know of a different location that has this vein Doppler? She's at 100 Oaks. They don't have it. They're supposed to. Where else can we send her? I think he actually called it a vein finder. And then she says, well, the phlebotomists are the vein finders. They can find her veins. I was going to call her something other than a child of God, so I won't do that. But that's frustrating because I'm sick of people trying to get their pincushion practice on me. I've had multiple people tell me, oh, well, I can find anybody vein. I know some people are hard stick, but I can find anybody vein. And then they feel very defeated when I allow them to prove themselves wrong and they can't find my fucking veins until the 4th or 5th try. And then they're extremely apologetic. And that's cool. But if you had listened to me, we wouldn't have had to go through any of this. So I was on the phone with customer service, talked to probably 6 different medical facilities to see where in your large network of labs can I get this work done. only to basically be told the only place that it can be done is the hospital, which means Monday, which is fine. I'm also wondering if my multiple sclerosis clinic can do it, because I know for a fact that they have a vein Doppler, because they have to use it every time I get my infusion, and I'll just go there. But I shouldn't have had to go through this rigmarole. I should not have to be a patient advocate and a customer service representative while also being a patient, navigating a chronic illness. And it is really challenging because I know that these people on the phone do not know my race. They do not know my gender. But it is extremely frustrating trying to be a Black woman navigating the healthcare system with a chronic illness that is exacerbated by stress, when so many of your interactions with the healthcare industry are indeed stressful. So that's all, folks. So I am usually opposed to crying on camera, but today is National Pilates Day. It's May 2nd. World MS Day is in 4 weeks. 4 weeks from today. But when y'all see it, it is World MS Day. And in October, I could barely walk. I could not feel my lower extremities. And I just did 2 back-to-back level 1 reformer Pilates classes. And if you've ever done regular mat Pilates, you know how intense it is. Reformer Pilates is if mat Pilates decided to do a marathon. Yeah. And so the fact that I can do that, when I was worried that I was gonna have to give up so many of the things that are meaningful to me, I thought I was not gonna be able to wear heels again. I'm wearing heels tonight just because I fucking can. Yeah, it's a lot. My body's going through a lot. I've still got some inflammation going on, but I'm so grateful because neurological issues have all sorts of trajectories for the health of the person who have them. And I don't want to claim that for myself, but there was definitely a period where I wasn't sure what would happen, and I'm still not sure, but I know right now I was able to do something that even before my diagnosis I couldn't do. I could not do 2 back-to-back classes, not like real classes. Um, so yeah, happy National Pilates Day. And by the time you're saying this, happy World MS Day. Well, if you made it this far, thank you so much. You know everything pretty much that I know up until this point. Um, so fun fact, I was actually stressed. There were a lot of things that contributed to that stress. And once the stress subsided, so did those symptoms. So that mini flare up that I was having might have actually been the pseudo exacerbations. I still don't like that that lady did not consider how I was feeling and tried to sort of dismiss me, but we move. I believe this is chapter 4 or 5 in what I'm calling my MS Diaries. There may be future chapters. This might be the last one that I record, but thank you for watching. Thank you for caring. If you are a person who is navigating multiple sclerosis or the loved one of someone who is navigating multiple sclerosis, you are not alone. And please always speak up for what you need, for what your loved one needs. There are never too many questions. There is no silly question. Nothing is too small. This is your health. This is your life. This is your body. And you deserve the best care. And you're not by yourself. MS Warrior Gang. Bye.